What's up, guys? It's Coach Takes Wimbert, DFW Penguin Basketball, penguinhoops.com. Hey guys, like, comment, and subscribe. Make sure that you send this to someone that you know that has a kid that plays youth sports, especially if they play youth basketball. And without further ado, I want to get right into a very important topic today. A lot of stuff happens and with me coaching, and sometimes I feel like some stuff is a lot more important and I just gotta do a video over, because I see a lot of parents that are maybe confused about something, or players that may be confused, or I just like to either clear the air or just help you guys out with stuff that you may be experiencing as a parent, or just to help people randomly, or just put it out there to make certain parents or players or just people that may watch this video understand certain things about sports, because there are a lot of parents that have never played sports at a high level, have never played sports at all. They've done a lot of other different activities, but when it comes to sports, and especially with basketball, it is a totally different ballgame. I'm here to help you guys out. So without further ado, I want to tell you guys my top 12 things that you're going to expect going from rec league ball, where kids aren't as skilled and talented, or like playing YMCA ball, just lower level basketball, to when you move to select ball. Number one, guys, the number one thing that you're going to experience when you go from rec league basketball to select basketball, and you got to understand and prepare yourself and your son and your family, your grandmother that comes into town, all that stuff, it's going to be a shock to everyone. Okay, if you've been playing rec league ball since your kid was in the second grade, now he's in the fourth or fifth grade, and he's about to jump into select ball, the preparation is going to be a shock. The competition is going to be a shock. The speed of the game is going to be a shock. The parents on opposing teams is going to be a shock. All of this stuff is going to be totally different, and you have to mentally prepare yourself before it happens. Otherwise, you will be extremely disappointed, or it will make your kid and you want to quit. And the only thing that's going to be on the other side of you quitting is experiencing it again when they get to middle school or when they get to high school, and those same kids that kind of freaked you out playing against, they're going to be there, right? So I always tell new parents, like, it's better to experience this stuff now early rather than to smack you in the face when he goes to tryouts in the 7th grade, 8th grade, 9th grade. Now, a lot of times 7th, 8th, and 9th grade, you can make it just by being okay at ball. But past that, if you're not really putting that work in, or you haven't had a coach to really get you to understand ball, you haven't played against a decent type of competition, it's going to be rough for them later on down the line. And of all the different levels of sports, all the different levels of basketball, the one that is the hardest for people to get adjusted to, kids to get adjusted to, is jumping from rec to select. After select, you got like tournament ball, like regular tournament ball, where it's like primetime tournaments, big foot tournaments, stuff like that. And then after that, you got the upper level tournaments like Great American Shootout, EYBL, the Adidas circuit, Under Armour circuit, where there are kids that are the best kid in their age group, in their area, or at their school, playing on different teams, and they put them all together. But it's easy. It's an easier transition from select to tournament ball, from regular tournament ball to EYBL ball, because you kind of seen and you kind of understand that the speed is going to change. But from rec to select, it's going to be really rough, and it's going to be a shock. All right, the number 2 thing that you're going to experience jumping from rec league ball to select ball is the fact that the speed and competition is totally different. It's a lot higher, and it's a huge leap, okay? Depending on what league or how good your team was in the rec league, like I said before on the first point, it is a shock, right? You could have been lucky enough to been on the best team in your rec league team for 4th grade, right, or for 5th grade. In the past 3 seasons, you've been blowing everybody out, and it was easy to you. And you think that basketball is like, oh man, I'm really, really good. But you don't realize that, I'm really the 3rd best player on my select team. So that's not going to translate to me being the 3rd best player on a select team, if that makes sense. Or I was the best player on my rec league team, And now I'm going to jump on to the select league team, and I'm going to be the best player on that team. A lot of times you go from first to about, if you're the best player on your team, you're going to jump to about the middle of the pack. You may end up starting, but there are kids that have been playing longer than you that aren't as athletic, as tall and fast as your kid, but they just understand how to play more and they're used to the speed. So it takes a while to get adjusted to that speed and the competition level of other kids. These kids and some of these coaches, they do not care. If they're beating you by 40, they want to beat you by 80, right? And some of these other kids, you know, you've been playing in the rec league so long, and they have all these rules and restraints on, you know, not embarrassing other guys, like turning the clock off when you're down 30 and stuff like that. In the select league and the tournament ball and stuff like that later on down the road, they do not care. These kids are trying to embarrass you. Their parents got their phone out, they're recording it, they'll post it on their Facebook page, and they beat you by 80 points. And they get excited about it. And these kids are coming for you every single second of the game. So just the speed, you know, the jumpers you used to be able to get off without getting your shot blocked, you know, they're gonna get blocked a lot of times, and you have to get adjusted to it. You know, some kids like, oh man, you know, is this kid, he's 5'10" and he's in the 5th grade, or he's 5'10" and he's in the 4th grade. How is that? And he can handle and dribble and shoot the ball? Yeah, those type of people exist. Whatever we do as human beings, whatever we do as adults, you know, even for a living, you know, there's somebody out there better at managing mortgages than you. There is somebody that's a better mechanic than you are, right? You might be a mechanic at a mom and pop shop, you know, and then there's someone that is the best BMW mechanic in the world. Then there's somebody that's better than him at fixing Ferraris and stuff like that. So, you know, to kids, they live in this little bubble in their mind that the select league is just, you know, what it is. But then when they jump to select, you know, it's a totally different thing, and they don't realize there are kids that are better than them and faster than them. There are teams that are better than them. And it's, like I said before on the first point, it's a shock. So just getting adjusted to the speed and the competitive level of other kids is the second thing that you're gonna have to get adjusted to. Number 3, guys, a big leap in change is most of the refs in the select league, they're a little bit better than the refs, a lot better in a lot of cases. Don't let me say that, a little bit better. They're a lot better than the referees in the rec league. Sometimes the rec league referees are guys that have never played basketball before, or they're kids that might have played basketball, but they're like 14 to 16, 17 years old, and they don't have a feel for refereeing the game. They don't know how to handle coaches. They don't know how to handle players as well. And a lot of times they let a lot of fouls. They call a lot of fouls, and they also do not call violations as much, like traveling, stepping out of bounds and stuff like that. But in the select league, they call everything, okay, as far as violations. Now, in the select league, they don't call as many fouls. Your kid maybe get clobbered and almost get his face taken off on a layup, and the ref doesn't call it sometimes, right? Now, I might say something, but, you know, some of these refs, they, depending on the flow of the game, if both teams are really physical, they're not gonna call as much, right? And it gets even worse as you go up the ranks. You know, it's just like the referees as you get older and as the skill level goes up, it's like the referees aren't even there half the time. Because the only thing they're really calling, they're not calling a lot of violations, they're just calling really, really hard, tough fouls, and that's about it. Because I'll get into that later about getting the games going and getting the games over with when you're a referee. But just know, going from rec to select, they're not going to call as many fouls, and they're going to call every violation for the most part that they see, depending on the skill level of the two teams, right? But for the most part, they're going to call a travel as a travel. They're going to call a double dribble if they see it, right? They're not going to just let it slide and it's okay, right? So that's the third thing you need to recognize. It's going to be a huge change. All right, and we're going to talk about me personally. Okay, I'm a lot different than a lot of the other select league coaches. I'm a lot different from a lot of AAU coaches because I focus on fundamental basketball and like actually learning how to play the game the right way, which translates into high school ball, college ball, middle school ball, stuff like that. And to a lot of kids and a lot of parents, it is weird because, you know, I have a real practice. Like, I'm not having a practice with 6 guys there because it looks better aesthetically, and it looks like I'm giving more attention to each kid like I would in a tutorial, a math tutoring class. It's not how it works. It's better to have more kids at practice so you can do more drills and you can scrimmage more and do different things better as a team, right? You can't scrimmage with 8 guys. You can't scrimmage with 9 guys. You need 10 or more. And even sometimes you can't really scrimmage with 10 because there's always somebody that's gonna be hurt or they might not be able to play a certain position. Everybody's not gonna be, it's not gonna be point wing wing post post on one team, point wing wing post post on the other team. It may be 5 wings and then there's 2 posts and then 1 point guard. So you need more players at practice, especially at the youth level, because a lot of kids are figuring out their positions, right, and what they're good at and where their skill level is. So you definitely need more people at practice. And then also with me personally, like I said, I focus on fundamentals and I have a lot of structure to practice. I hold kids accountable, right? I'm going to challenge them mentally. I'm going to push them to be better. I'm going to talk to them like they're an adult to get adult results out of them, if that makes sense. Most rec league coaches are normally just someone's dad or someone's mom that just filled in, and they're just hoping to get 2 good players that can carry their team to a win, and they're not really even doing anything in practice other than layup lines and shooting shots. They're not working on defensive schemes. They're not working on out of bounds plays, side out of bounds plays, transition offense, transition defense. They're not doing any of that. So it's a shock to a lot of parents and players because they're used to one thing and then you get this over here, right? If you're used to eating a cheeseburger all the time and then someone puts filet mignon in front of your face, you're gonna question it because it doesn't have a bun on it. And it doesn't have lettuce and tomato and cheese on it, but it's really actually better for you, if that makes sense. So the point I'm trying to make is the structure and stuff that you're gonna get from me, the structure that you're gonna get from me or any other select league coach is gonna be a little bit different than a lot of other people, and especially when it comes to rec league coaches. It's like night and day. So it's something that you're gonna have to actually really get used to and wrap your head around. Okay, another thing that you have to get adjusted to, number 5, another thing that you have to get adjusted to that's really important is the fact that the level of competition is higher, but the teammates that your kid is playing with more than likely is more skilled than your son. If your son has always been one of the better players on their rec league team, one of the better players in the whole entire league, a lot of times, at the most, your son has been playing in a rec league, he's going to be middle of the pack on a bad team in the select league, right? Now, in some cases where some kids just haven't been found yet and they're really, really good and they're talented no matter what level they're at. But a lot of times if your kid has been playing only select league ball and hasn't been training with a trainer other than their dad sometimes or their mom, or they're just naturally talented and they haven't had a trainer, they're just naturally faster and bigger than everyone else. They've been getting by on just height and speed. There's no skill involved. So when they come over to the select league and their kids the same size and speed as your son, and they have the skill along with it, they're not going to be there. And it's, like I said before on number 1, it is going to be a shock to them, and they're going to wonder why they're not one of the better players on the team. And it may burn them that they're not playing as many minutes as they're used to. Because on their rec team, they played the whole entire game. Their team needed them. If he showed up late to the game, the coach is looking over his shoulder the whole time, hoping your son walks through the door and onto the floor to play the game. With select league teams, a lot of times it's not that going on. A lot of the rec league guys that are really, really good have already been found and picked up. Somebody found them somewhere, saw them somewhere, walked through the gym and recruited them. But there are a lot of times guys like me, I get lucky and I find a kid, run into a kid at Walmart dribbling the ball or at Chick-fil-A, it looks like they can play, and they're like, oh yeah, I just moved from Wisconsin out here, I don't have a team, and I get lucky like that and end up finding out that they're really, really, really good. But for the most part, if you're one of the better players on your rec league team, or you're the best player on your rec league team, you're not going to be the best player on your select league team. That's very, very rare. And also, you know, even if you do have your son has the ability to be really, really good, it takes a while to get adjusted to the speed. So if they're not mentally tough, they're not going to go out and work on it and be patient with the process of them get adjusted to the speed and competitiveness of the select league. So that's number 5. If your son was the best player on their rec league team, they're probably not going to be the best player on the select league team. Another thing, guys, okay, number 6. This is a big one. In the rec league, from what I know, in a lot of rec leagues, they have rules to where a lot of kids get equal playing time. In the select league, that does not matter. Your kid can play none the whole game, and there is nobody that's going to whistleblow it. The other coach is not going to be trying to get the kid into the game that's not playing. I remember back, and I don't know if that still is the rule, but I remember, 10, 12 years ago where it was a big thing where kids would try to hide their 2 worst best. They had 10 kids on the team. They would try to hide their 2 worst players and not play them as much. Right? But in the select league, in the select league, if you don't get in, you're not going to have to be hidden. If you're not good enough, you're not going to have to be hidden to a certain extent. I try to play people. I try to play kids as much as possible. If the game is close, though, I'm going to play the game to win, and that's just the harsh reality of sports. Period. People that get the job done, they're going to get more experience and more playing time and more usage by their coach. I mean, that carries over to life as well. If you're one of the better performers at your job, they're gonna call on you to do a lot more than others, right? So, there are no playing time rules. If your kid doesn't play a lot, he's gonna have to get used to not playing a lot, or either work on it and get better, or be patient until his time is called. Because that's just the harsh reality of everything. When they get to middle school, high school, varsity, if they get a chance to do that, college ball, if your coach just deems you as not a guy that can perform as well, you're just not going to play as much as other people, if not play at all. Now, like I said, with me, if I have a 5th grader that can barely catch and run and walk and chew gum, that is totally fine, because I've had guys that were like that and they got better over time. And I'm going to try to play them as much as I can, or either try to hide them and within the system and stuff to where I can kind of, massage them into learning what's going on and being more effective. But the harsh reality of sports is, when the game is tight, you got to play the guys that will give you the best chance to win, and that's what I'm going to do now. If we're getting blown out by a lot, I'm going to play those kids that aren't as skilled more. If we're blowing the team out a lot, I'm going to play those kids that aren't as talented as the other kids on the team. But for the most part, when the game is close, I'm going to play the guys that will give us the best chance to win. It's not equal playing time in the select. Number 7, guys. This is really funny, but it's the truth. And after watching this video, you'll notice this. For the most part, especially when kids are a lot younger, like from 3rd grade, 2nd grade, all the way up to around like 6th grade. This is just the harsh reality of how kids are, no matter if you're a girl or a boy. In sports, a lot of these kids, if they're not familiar with your son, no matter how good they are, they're just naturally not going to have a radar to pass your kid the ball. Right? If your kid is new, they're just not going to pass him the ball, right? It's not like football where I'm the quarterback and the play is to throw it to Bobby in the corner and they have to try to throw it. With basketball, your son could be wide open on the block, and just for a 10-year-old's mind, he's just not looking for the kids because he's not familiar with them. They're not friends. They're not buddy-buddy. They haven't seen each other, haven't introduced themselves. And you'll see me in games like, hey, pass it to Bobby, he's wide open. But the kid doesn't even realize that he's not looking for Bobby, right? And then you see over time they start, once they get to know each other and they get used to each other, they'll start to look for each other more. I don't know why kids are like that. I wasn't like that. I don't remember me being like that, but I didn't start playing until later on, like 6th grade. But I don't remember me being a kid and just not passing it to a kid because I wasn't familiar with him. But maybe I was, I don't know. But that's one thing you gotta look out for. Like us as adults, if we're playing in an old man league and we got a 7-foot guy on our team, we're trying to throw the ball to the 7-foot guy every time down. It just makes logical sense. If we get lucky, we're playing on our men's league team and one of our buddies has a guy on the team, recruits a guy on the team that's a 6'8" ex-professional basketball player, we're not gonna shy away from passing this guy the ball. We're not gonna shy away from passing this guy the ball because he's new to the team. Like, okay, well, let him do the work because we wanna win, right? But kids don't think like that. So parents, if you watching this and you look in the game like, man, they don't pass my son the ball, it's not intentional. Like with me, it's not intentional either. I understand how kids are and I'm not going to make it uncomfortable for them or have them make mistakes trying to force the ball there when it's not there. I want them to naturally grow into it. So just know if your kid isn't getting the touches that they want, it's mainly because the kids on their team just aren't familiar with them yet, and that will pass. Guys, number 8, this is a really good one too. You're going to have to work your kid out, and your son is going to have to work out. Excuse me. Your son is going to have to work out and do skills lessons with me or somebody other than just coming to practice once a week, right? Now, you guys have to remember that if your son is on a school team, right? If your son makes the USA basketball team, if your son is, on anything where it's other than my team, when it has to do with school and stuff, they're gonna practice at least 3 times a week, right? You might have 2 games a week. They're gonna practice at least 3 or 4 times a week, right? Practicing with me once a week, you're gonna get a lot of results, but it will help your son improve a whole lot faster if he's in the backyard or at the rec center actually working on drills and playing ball a lot more. This is not something that you can just, it's a physical activity, right? So some parents that haven't played sports, they correlate that with being in a band. Okay, well, I did 2 hours of playing the saxophone and that's good enough, right? And even in the band, I mean, from what I remember, the band, it was guys in the band, they're constantly playing. They wake up in the morning, they got practice in the morning, they go to school, they got band class, then they got practice after class. They have practice after the class for formations and all of that stuff, right? After school for formations and all that stuff. They're out on the field and all that. So, you gotta understand and implement this, just like, for example, just like playing video games. Like some of these guys, they're good at video games because they play all the time. It's gotta be the same thing with basketball. Like they gotta play basketball outside of practice. Otherwise, your kid they're gonna get better playing for me, but it's gonna take a longer amount of time, right? Now you can't fully just microwave it, but if your kid is working out and doing some of the drills that I teach at practice on their own time, they're gonna get a lot better, a lot faster, and that's gonna really help them out on their improvement in the long run. Number 9, which is kind of funny, but it's not, and I really want you guys to listen to me on this one. And this video is going pretty long, but you guys need to watch this. This is important, right? Number 9 is a lot of parents and coaches on the opposing teams are rude and highly competitive, right? You will be surprised at how far some of these coaches and parents go, right? A few weeks ago, we were in this is right now September of 2023, but a few weeks ago in August in the playoff games, the police were called like 3 or 4 times during the weekend or the week of games when I was there. There were fights breaking out between parents, and chairs being thrown and people being hit with chairs. And these are like 3rd, 4th, 5th grade basketball games. So I always encourage my parents, one, when y'all are together, to sit with each other so you don't have to be mixed in with other parents that may be saying rude things about your kid. Y'all all in one section and y'all cheering together, right? And then two, don't get caught up in the stuff with some of these parents and coaches, right? Whether it be them trying to recruit your kid or saying something crazy to your kid, some of these coaches do. I've seen so much, and I've coached so many games to where a lot of stuff doesn't bother me unless they get extremely disrespectful and out of line. That's the only time I really take action. But other than that, just, my threshold is a lot higher than some of you guys, right? Some of you guys may not like someone telling your kid to miss a shot, or hey, your son's shot is off, or that kid can't dribble to his left. Some of you guys get upset about that. You're gonna hear a whole lot worse than that playing in select ball, summer league, AAU ball, tournament ball. And if your kid gets to the point where they're playing like Nike tournaments and stuff like that, it gets extremely crazy. But for some reason, it's even worse when they're from like kindergarten to around like 5th or 6th grade. It's really, really bad. So I just want you parents to be aware of what's going on and kind of get your mind prepared for it. And remember, just take the high road, because at the end of the day, when you go home, you don't want to make a 30-second decision or 30 seconds of your life cause a really bad memory for your son or your wife or your husband or your aunt or uncle or in-laws when they come to the game, because there's so much riding on the game in your mind. When your kid wants to play, but the next day they're worried about getting a new Ninja Turtle action figure. They're not worried about the game anymore. You're still upset. You're writing on Facebook and group chatting everybody that you know about and sending footage and stuff. And at the end of the day, it was just a 3rd grade basketball game for 7-year-olds, 8-year-olds. It's not really that serious. So just be aware that some of these parents go really, really far. And on top of that too, you have to remember this. Keep your kid away from it. Don't try to miss games because we're playing against this team where the parents are rowdy. They're gonna have to get used to that. Your kid makes varsity someday and they go to Wiley High, and Wiley High is playing Wiley East, or they're playing plain old senior high, or they're playing Forney or Lancaster or something in the playoffs. It's gonna be crazy, right? And they're gonna get heckled and everything. And at that point, it's gonna be fun. So as long as if a kid ever gets to the point where they're getting extremely disrespected, I'll go over and unplug the clock. it won't get too far if I'm there, right? Let me handle some of the stuff. If you feel like it's too far and you got to step in as a parent, I totally understand, but just don't let it bother you too much, all right? This one is a personal one, and I want to let you guys know this because it's important, right? This is a personal thing for me because I've seen so much. I've coached over 10,000 games in the last 15 years. So I just decided to stop doing it during 2020 when the C word stuff happened. I realized, like, hey, this is actually a good idea. And because I never liked it as a kid, it makes sense to me. I don't shake hands with the opposing team after games. And it's not because I'm unsportsmanlike or anything like that. I don't care if we win by 100, lose by 100, or if the game goes to 10 overtimes. I don't shake hands after the game unless I know the coach personally and we have some type of relationship. Other than that, I don't shake hands, and this is why. One, once you guys start to watch a lot of these games, you'll see the opposing coaches talking a lot of smack to me during the game, and I'm ignoring them. Sometimes it gets a little out of line, and I see it as a sign of respect, and a lot of times these coaches look up to me, and I know that. But I honestly don't want to shake a person's hand that has negative stuff to say to me regarding a 5th grade basketball game. Or if I know that this coach is cheating in the middle of the game because we're playing a 4th grade basketball game and the kid on my team is friends with his older, or knows his, he has an older brother that's friends with a kid that's on your team, but he's in the 6th grade, right? I know these things and I see these things. I'm kind of aware of what's going on, but I don't have a lot of respect for that. So I won't go shake this coach's hand if he's been woofing at the mouth and cursing and all this stuff and just being belligerent about and just being goofy. Also, these kids kind of get into rips during the game as well, right? As they get a little bit older, some of these kids are getting social media and stuff younger, and they're competing or they're giving each other a hard time and trolling each other online, and they're in the 5th grade, right? And they see each other, they go on each other's Instagram and all this stuff, and they see each other playing and they're talking smack back and forth. I've seen so many kids either fight or about to fight, just going through a handshake line, which is really, to me, is just not needed. So I just avoid it totally at this point. Now, if they're cool with the kid on the other team, after the game is over, if they want to go over and talk to their buddy, that makes so much sense to me, rather than you going and have to be forced to make human bodily contact, whether it be hand or whatever, a fist bump, anything, with someone that you hate or you don't like or you despise or you have some type of quarrel with. It makes no sense to me, so I just want to let you guys know that. Number 11, guys, when your kid starts to become pretty good at ball, especially if they start off and they weren't as good, I'm gonna make your kid a whole lot better than what they were 3 to 6 months ago, right? And it's gonna happen fast, especially if they're doing the drills and I'm teaching them at home. They're gonna get better faster. Now, a lot of kids come to me because they may have been the bottom player on a team with their kids from their neighborhood, right? And they never got in the game, never got any chance to do anything. They weren't getting taught anything to become better. And then they're like, you know what, or either, the coach from their teams with their buddies from school or something, just basically kind of like, oh, we're not having a team, or kind of cuts them from the team without cutting them. That makes sense. And then I make this kid better, and down the line, we end up playing your old buddies, right? Your kids from your neighborhood, your school buddies. And they see that your son is a lot better. What do you think this coach is gonna do now? He's gonna try to recruit your son, right? And even if it's not that scenario, just me making kids better, random coaches will come down the line and try to recruit your son away from me, tell you, just make up random stuff, negative things possibly about me, or just saying, hey, we're doing this and Coach Chase is not doing that, or we do play here and Coach Chase is not playing here. Guys, you gotta remember, at the end of the day, one, I made your son better, right? Yeah, if your kid is way better, he's just too good to play for us, and nothing that I can do at this point can help him or push him forward, I'm not gonna send him to a coach that is one league above me, right? Or is doing the same thing that I'm doing, but just over here, right? I'm gonna send your son somewhere where they're playing a high level AAU basketball, right? Other than that, if your son is not really at that point and they still need a lot of work, the best thing for them to do is to play for me. Now, I always tell parents, they come at a crossroads sometimes, right? They're like, hey, this AAU team, I want him to experience this, this, that, and other. That is totally fine, but the perfect balance to me, if I had a son right now and he was really, really good at ball, I would have him play in a select league, which is like a league, and also do that as well. It's a good balance, because over here with me, I'm gonna teach him how to actually play ball. Over there, a lot of those coaches that coach AAU ball, they're playing to get wins, they're playing to make themselves look good and have some type of clout with it, right? That's just the honest truth, right? They're playing to try, if they don't already have some type of sponsorship, they're playing to get some type of sponsorship. So they're playing to win. So the competition level is higher, and it's a different experience, but they're not teaching them the fundamentals of the game, right? They're not going over plays. They don't have schemes. Most of those coaches, I'll be honest with you, I've never seen them with a clipboard and a dry erase marker on the bench. Like, they're just out there just coaching, right? Motivating, talking smack, firing them up. They're not really actually teaching them the game here. But that's a perfect balance. But of course, back to my point I was trying to make, of course these coaches are going to try to recruit your son, but you have to remember, at the end of the day, playing for me is what made them better. Playing for me is what brought that coach to you, right? So always remember that. And number 12, guys, this is a fun fact. Don't blame me for your kid being into sneakers, okay? I'm into sneakers mainly because I'm a basketball guy. Any guy that's a basketball guy, no matter if you're white, black, Asian, Indian, African, you're from Iran, you're from Jordan, you're from Japan, you're from the Philippines. If you are a kid that plays basketball, it is a cultural thing for you to get into basketball sneakers and just sneakers, period, right? I try to wear all my sneakers, and I don't want you guys, when your kid shows you, oh, Coach Tex, he has these sneakers. Guys, I didn't pay that. I didn't pay these crazy prices that these little kids are paying for these sneakers, right? A lot of my sneakers are old. I've had the same shoe size forever. Since I was probably like in the 6th grade, I wore a size 13, right? And I take good care of my sneakers. Some of them are crumbling now that I'm getting older. So that's why I try to wear them all, because I don't know when they're gonna expire. But I just want to tell you parents, okay, your kid is gonna get into sneakers, okay? And don't blame me. Make him get a job, make him cut some yards or something. But the sneaker stuff that's going on now, how high priced some of these sneakers are on these third-party sites, stuff, it's unreal. I'm not paying that, but I just want you to know, okay, don't blame their influence. Don't blame their influence on sneakers solely on me, okay? It's just part of basketball, all right? But anyway, those are the 12 things you're gonna experience going from rec to select. I hope you guys got something from this. Please like, comment, subscribe. Share this with someone that has a kid that plays youth basketball, and leave a comment below. Chime in. What is something that you're experiencing or that you've experienced jumping from rec ball to select ball, all right? Like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you guys later.